everything. Every day you wake up with a choice, to repeat yesterday or to rise higher. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, everything, habit by habit, moment by moment. Your personality is not fixed. It's a living force that grows with your actions, your thoughts, and your courage to step forward even when you're unsure. Everything. This audiobook is your daily training ground, a short, powerful journey through 5 timeless principles that will sharpen your presence, strengthen your confidence, everything, and help you become the person who walks into any room and instantly changes its energy. Let's begin. Imagine waking up one morning and standing in front of the mirror. Everything. You look at yourself, not just at your reflection, but at the person behind the eyes. What do you see? For most people, that quiet moment reveals more than just a face. Everything. It reveals a conversation, the one that never stops. Sometimes it's kind, but often it's critical. Everything. You should have done more. You're not enough. You look tired. That voice becomes the filter through which we see ourselves, and in time, it becomes the truth we live by. Everything. The mirror mindset begins here, in that space between what you see and what you believe. It's about understanding that confidence is not built by pretending you're perfect, everything, but by truly seeing yourself clearly, flaws and all, and choosing to grow anyway. Self-awareness is not self-criticism. It's self-honesty with compassion. It's the ability to say, everything. This is where I am, and that's okay, because I'm moving forward. When you understand yourself deeply, you stop being trapped by other people's opinions. Everything. You begin to live from the inside out. Think of it this way. Your personality is like a light, and that light shines through the glass of self-awareness. Everything. If the glass is dirty with self-doubt, comparison, and fear, your light becomes dim, distorted. But when you start cleaning that glass, when you start seeing yourself clearly, everything, your confidence stops being something you chase. It becomes something you naturally radiate. Let's pause here and think about how we usually see ourselves. For most of us, everything. The mirror has become a place of judgment. We notice what's wrong before we ever notice what's right. We criticize our looks, our performance, our past, everything. But here's the truth. The mirror doesn't lie, yet it also doesn't define. It only reflects what you decide to focus on. And what you focus on grows. If you constantly see failure, everything, you'll start to live like a failure. If you start to see progress, you'll start to act like someone who's improving every day. Let me tell you about a man named David. For years, David struggled with low confidence. He was smart, capable, and kind, but he never saw himself that way. In every situation, he assumed others were more interesting, more attractive, everything more confident. One day, during a coaching session, his mentor asked him a simple question. Everything. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and appreciated yourself for something real? David laughed. Everything. I don't think I ever have. So the mentor gave him a task. Every morning for 30 days, look into the mirror and say one thing you genuinely respect about yourself. Everything. Not something you wish you were, but something you already are. At first it felt silly, forced. But by the second week something changed. His posture improved. His voice became steadier. Everything. He started smiling at people without worrying about how he looked. What happened? He began to change his internal dialogue, that invisible soundtrack running in the background of his mind. Everything. By shifting the way he spoke to himself, David didn't just change his thoughts, he changed his entire presence. That's the power of seeing yourself clearly. You see everything. The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you live. Your inner voice shapes your outer world. Most people wait for confidence to arrive before they act. Everything. But real confidence comes from building trust with yourself. One honest thought, one small win, one brave moment at a time. Everything. So let's talk about self-awareness. The foundation of all personal growth. Self-awareness means watching your thoughts without becoming them. It means noticing when you shrink yourself. Everything. When you downplay your achievements, when you compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Awareness is the first light in the darkness. Once you can see your patterns, everything, you can begin to change them. One of the best ways to practice this is through reflection, literally and mentally. Each night, take 5 quiet minutes to review your day. Ask yourself, everything. When did I feel most alive? When did I feel small? What triggered that? What can I learn from it? Don't judge your answers. Just observe them. Awareness is not about perfection. Everything. It's about progress. The more clearly you see yourself, the more power you gain to redesign your life intentionally. There's a story about an artist who spent years painting portraits. Everything. One day, his student asked, "How do you make your paintings look so real?" The artist smiled and said, "Everything. I spend more time observing than painting." That's exactly what self-awareness is, the art of observation. When you learn to observe your emotions without reacting to them, everything, you start mastering your inner world. And that's when real confidence begins to grow. Think about how you treat a close friend who's struggling. You'd never call them a failure. Everything. You'd encourage them, remind them of their strengths, and help them see beyond their doubts. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we often do the opposite. Everything. We become our harshest critics instead of our best allies. The mirror mindset teaches you to reverse that pattern, to become your own coach. When you make a mistake, instead of saying, "Everything, I'm terrible at this," say, "I'm learning." When you face rejection, instead of thinking, "I'm not enough," remind yourself, "Everything. This is not my ending, it's a redirection." Confidence doesn't come from avoiding flaws, it comes from owning them. From standing in front of the mirror and saying, "Yes, everything. I have work to do. And yes, I'm proud of how far I've come." That's not arrogance, that's honesty. Now think of someone you admire, a leader, an artist, everything, a friend who just seems comfortable in their own skin. What you're sensing in them isn't perfection, it's alignment. They know who they are, everything, and they're not pretending to be someone else. That authenticity draws people in. Because when you see yourself clearly, others can see you clearly too. There's no mask, no confusion, everything, no hidden agenda, just real presence. So how can you begin to build that kind of clarity? Start with awareness rituals. When you wake up, take a deep breath and check in with yourself. Everything. How do you feel today? Physically, emotionally, mentally. Don't rush to fix anything. Just notice. Throughout your day, everything. Catch yourself in moments of self-criticism and replace them with curiosity. Instead of, "Why am I like this?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Over time, everything. Those small shifts create emotional intelligence, the kind that radiates as quiet confidence. There's also immense power in feedback, not the kind that wounds, everything, but the kind that reveals. Ask the people you trust how they experience you, everything. What's the first impression I give off? What strengths do you see in me that I might overlook? It takes courage to ask, but that courage deepens your self-awareness, everything. You might be surprised at what others notice about you, qualities you've been too modest or blind to see. Let's return to the mirror for a moment. Imagine looking into it right now, everything. But this time, instead of searching for flaws, you ask one question: who am I becoming? You see, everything. Confidence isn't about who you were yesterday. It's about who you're training yourself to become today. The mirror is not a reminder of the past, it's a window into potential, everything. When you start practicing this daily, seeing yourself with honesty and compassion, your energy changes. People will start responding to you differently, everything. They'll sense something deeper, something grounded. Because clarity is magnetic. When you know yourself, you move through the world with intention, everything. And that quiet certainty becomes your greatest strength. It's easy to think that personality is fixed, that you're either shy or outgoing, confident or insecure. But that's not true, everything. Personality is fluid, it's shaped by experience and awareness. Every time you choose courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, you're reshaping who you are, everything. The more you understand yourself, the more freedom you have to express yourself fully. Let me share one more story. A young woman named Leela once told me she hated speaking up in meetings, everything. She said her heart would race, her hands would shake, and afterwards she'd replay every word she said, convinced she sounded foolish. We worked on just one thing, awareness, everything. Before every meeting, she'd take a moment to breathe, to acknowledge her fear without judging it. During the meeting, she'd silently remind herself, "I belong here." Within months, everything, something shifted. The fear didn't disappear overnight, but her relationship with it changed. She stopped fighting herself and started understanding herself, everything. That's when her confidence grew. Not because the fear vanished, but because she stopped letting it define her. And that's the essence of the mirror mindset, everything. It's not about becoming flawless. It's about seeing clearly enough to lead yourself with kindness and truth. The moment you stop running from your reflection and start learning from it, everything, you gain the power to shape not only how you see yourself, but how the world sees you. When you see yourself clearly, you stop performing and start being everything. And that's when confidence finally stops feeling like something you're chasing and starts feeling like something you already are, everything. Think about the last time you walked into a room feeling uncertain, shoulders slightly slouched, eyes darting, voice low and unsure. You might have thought no one noticed, but they did, everything. Not just the people around you, your own mind did. Your body was whispering messages to your brain, and your brain believed every word. Posture is not just about how you stand, everything. It's about how you show up to life. Every movement, every gesture, every breath you take sends information to your nervous system, shaping how you feel and how others respond to you, everything. When your shoulders are back, your chest open, and your head held high, your body tells your mind, I'm safe, I belong, I'm capable. And when your body believes that message, everything, your emotions follow. Confidence isn't just a mental game, it's biological. Your physiology, the way you breathe, move, everything, and carry yourself, can transform how you think and perform within seconds. Science has proven it. When you adjust your body, everything, your brain releases chemicals that reinforce your emotional state. Standing tall can raise testosterone levels, which are linked to confidence and assertiveness, while lowering cortisol, everything, the stress hormone. You literally feel braver, calmer, and more in control simply by changing the way you hold yourself. But beyond the science, everything, there's something deeply human here, something we all recognize instinctively. Imagine a lion walking through the savannah. It doesn't need to roar to command respect, everything. Its posture says everything. The same is true for us. People who carry themselves with presence, those who walk with purpose and look others in the eye, naturally draw attention, everything. They don't beg for respect, they embody it. I remember a young man I once spoke to after a seminar. He told me, I've always been shy. I can't talk to people, everything. I feel invisible. I asked him to stand up. He did, but his shoulders curved forward, his head tilted down. His body language was a reflection of how he felt inside. I said, everything. Before you say another word, straighten your spine. He hesitated, then lifted his head, rolled his shoulders back, and took a deep breath. I said, everything. No, tell me again. Are you invisible? He smiled for the first time and said quietly, maybe not. It wasn't magic, everything. It was alignment, the body and the mind coming into agreement. The truth is, most of us underestimate how much power lies in something as simple as posture, everything. We think change has to come from deep emotional healing or massive life overhauls. But sometimes transformation starts with something as small as standing differently, everything. Your body can lead your mind out of fear. When you feel nervous before a meeting, interview, or presentation, your instinct might be to shrink, to take up less space, everything. That's a primal response, your body's way of saying, I'm not a threat. But here's the irony: when you shrink, your brain interprets that as weakness, everything, and your confidence drops further. You reinforce the very state you're trying to escape. Instead, take up space, ground your feet, lift your chest, look forward, everything. You're telling your brain, I belong here, I have something to give. And your brain listens. It's not just posture, it's eye contact, the tone of your voice, everything. The rhythm of your breathing. Everything in your body speaks, to others and to yourself. When you avoid someone's gaze, you're telling your nervous system, everything. I'm afraid. When you hold eye contact calmly, you're saying, I'm safe. When your voice is steady, you're breathing deep, you're teaching your body to relax under pressure, everything. Over time, this becomes your default. Think of actors preparing for a role. Before they even speak a line, they adjust their body. A confident character moves differently than a timid one, everything. Shoulders open, movements economical, grounded. And when they do this, they don't just pretend confidence, they feel it. You can do the same. In fact, everything. Every day you already do, without realizing it. When you're excited, your gestures are wide and expressive. When you're sad, you fold inward. Your body mirrors your emotions, everything. But what if you could reverse it? What if your body could create the emotion you need? Try this the next time you catch yourself feeling small or anxious, everything. Pause and do a posture reset. Take a deep breath in, straighten your back, lift your chin slightly, and feel your feet grounded. Hold that for just 10 seconds. Feel the shift, everything. Your thoughts slow down, your chest opens. That's your nervous system recalibrating. You didn't have to give yourself a pep talk. You just changed the channel through your body, everything. We live in a time when people spend hours hunched over screens, shrinking into their phones. Without realizing it, we are training ourselves to feel smaller, more anxious, more distracted, everything. Technology may have connected us digitally, but it has disconnected us physically. Reclaiming your posture is not vanity, everything. It's rebellion against the unconscious slump that modern life imposes on you. Think about leaders, athletes, performers, the people who radiate energy. They all have something in common, everything. Before they speak or act, they settle into their body. Their gestures are intentional. Their stance is balanced. They're rooted. This is not arrogance, it's presence, everything. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be here, in your body, commanding your space with quiet certainty. There's a powerful exercise I often give people, everything. Practice walking like your future self. Picture the most confident, capable version of you, the person who has already achieved what you're working toward. How do they move? Everything. How do they stand? Walk like them for 5 minutes. No words, just movement. You'll be amazed at how quickly your emotions begin to align with that vision. Everything. The mind doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It simply follows the signals you give it. When you move with purpose, your mind catches up. You might say, everything. But won't that feel fake? Maybe at first. But everything new does. Remember when you first learned to ride a bike or drive a car? It felt unnatural until it became automatic. Everything. Confidence is no different. You practice it with your body until it becomes who you are. That's how identity shifts, not through endless thinking, but through embodied repetition. Everything. There's an old saying, the body keeps the score. It remembers your fears, your stresses, your insecurities. But it can also remember your victories, if you train it to. Everything. When you start associating upright posture with courage, steady breathing with calm, eye contact with connection, you rewire your body's memory. Eventually, everything. Confidence isn't something you do, it's something you are. Now imagine what happens when this becomes habit. You wake up, stretch, breathe deeply, everything, and walk into your day with your head held high. People respond differently to you. Opportunities seem to appear more often. But it's not magic, it's alignment. Everything. You've tuned your internal signal to confidence, and the world echoes it back. It's also important to remember that posture is not about being stiff or rigid. True presence is fluid, everything, alive. It's not military straightness, it's openness. A relaxed confidence that says, I'm at ease with myself. Watch someone who's comfortable in their skin. Everything. They move naturally, but with intention. Their gestures flow from authenticity. That's the posture of a grounded mind. And if you ever doubt the power of this, everything, think about the people who've inspired you most. Maybe it was a teacher, a speaker, a mentor, or even a friend. Chances are, everything. It wasn't just their words you remember. It was the way they carried those words. Their posture gave weight to their message. Their body language made you feel safe, inspired, or awake. Everything. That's the invisible language of confidence. So much of our inner work begins with outer awareness. Before you can change your thoughts, change how you hold yourself. Everything. Before you can control your emotions, control your breath. The mind follows the body, just as the body follows the mind. When you learn to synchronize the two, everything, you step into a rare state of harmony, where you don't just think confidence, you embody it. The most powerful part of all this is that it's instantly available to you. Everything. You don't need a class, a coach, or a course. You already have the equipment, your body. Every moment is an opportunity to realign, to adjust, to remind yourself, I am strong. Everything. I am centered. I am here. As you move through the day, notice how you stand, how you breathe, how you sit when you're alone. Each adjustment is a small act of self-respect. Everything. And over time, these moments build something remarkable. A quiet, unshakable confidence that doesn't depend on circumstances. Because once your body learns what strength feels like, everything, your mind will never forget it. There's a simple truth that most people overlook. Confidence does not appear before action. It is born through it. Everything. We wait for confidence the way we wait for good weather, thinking, once I feel ready, I'll go for it. But the truth is, readiness is an illusion. Everything. No one feels completely ready the first time they do anything worth doing. The secret that every confident person eventually learns is this: you don't act because you're confident. Everything. You become confident because you act. Think about the very first time you rode a bicycle. You didn't read a manual or analyze balance. You just tried. You fell, you wobbled, everything. You got up again. Somewhere between those early failed attempts and the moment you finally stayed upright, something shifted. Everything. You didn't just learn how to ride a bike. You learned something deeper, that doing creates understanding, and understanding builds belief. That small cycle, action, feedback, everything, growth, is what I call the confidence loop. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you send a message to your brain: I can handle this. Everything. That message builds a little more self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. You don't need to conquer a mountain to build it. Everything. You just need to take the next step that scares you a little. The loop begins the moment you move. Consider Sarah. Everything. A young designer who dreamed of presenting her own work to clients but avoided it for years. She told herself she wasn't confident enough to speak in meetings. Everything. That maybe one day she'd work up the courage. But courage isn't something you wait for. It's something you build through motion. One afternoon, when her manager was out, everything, she volunteered to explain a simple slide. Her voice trembled, her hands shook, but she did it. That single act, just standing up and speaking for 90 seconds, ignited something in her. Everything. The next time, she offered to handle 2 slides, then an entire project. Within a year, she was leading presentations with ease. The difference wasn't talent or luck, it was repetition. Everything. She had entered the confidence loop, and each action fed the next. Confidence doesn't grow in the mind, it grows in the muscles of experience. You have to feel yourself succeeding. Everything, even in small ways. It's like lighting a spark. Once it catches, it burns brighter every time you feed it with movement. Everything. The reason so many people stay stuck isn't because they lack ability. It's because they stay in their heads. They rehearse, they worry, they prepare endlessly. Everything. But preparation without action is a trap. You can only think your way so far. Action teaches what thinking never will. If you've ever watched a child learning to walk, everything, you'll see what unfiltered confidence looks like. They fall hundreds of times, yet they never say, everything. Maybe walking isn't for me. They keep going because they haven't learned to doubt themselves yet. Every fall is data. Every step, no matter how shaky, is progress. Everything. Somewhere along the way, we adults forget that. We start treating mistakes as proof we're not enough, instead of what they truly are, proof we're learning. Everything. There's a reason the most successful people in the world are not the ones who always feel ready. They're the ones who have trained themselves to act before they feel ready. Everything. They've learned to trust the loop. A writer who sits down to write even when the words don't come. A speaker who steps on stage while still nervous. Everything. A student who raises their hand even though they might be wrong. Each one is performing a quiet act of courage. They're feeding the loop, and the loop rewards them every single time. Everything. One of the biggest myths about confidence is that it's loud and flawless. But true confidence is often quiet. It's the calm assurance that no matter what happens, you can figure it out. Everything. That assurance only comes from experience, by doing, failing, learning, and doing again. Each repetition adds a layer of resilience. Everything. Imagine for a moment that you have 2 voices in your mind. One says, wait until you're sure, and the other whispers, everything. Just try. The first voice is the voice of fear. It promises safety but steals your growth. The second is the voice of momentum. It may sound uncertain, everything, but it's the one that moves you forward. Confidence grows every time you choose that second voice. You don't silence fear by arguing with it. Everything. You silence it by proving it wrong through action. Take something you've been postponing. Maybe speaking up in a meeting, reaching out to someone you admire. Everything. Posting your first video online. Ask yourself, what's the smallest step I can take toward it today? Then do just that. Not the perfect step. Not the whole leap. Everything. Just the smallest possible action that moves you forward. Send the message. Record the video. Say the words. That single move will break the inertia and start the loop. Everything. Once you're in motion, the next step becomes easier, and the next even easier. When you act, something magical happens. Your brain starts to rewrite your identity. Everything. You begin to see yourself differently. You start saying things like, everything. I'm the kind of person who follows through, or I'm someone who faces things head on. That shift in identity is what locks confidence in place. Everything. You're no longer trying to feel confident. You're simply acting like someone who already is. And over time, the feeling catches up with the behavior. Everything. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's mastery over hesitation. Every time you act despite doubt, you train your nervous system to stay calm under pressure. Everything. The first few times you'll shake, your heart will race, your mind will scream to stop, but keep going. The discomfort is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of growth. Everything. Think of it like working out. Your muscles don't grow while you're lifting. They grow as they recover from the resistance. Confidence works the same way. Everything. You stretch yourself through challenge, and the recovery builds strength. There's a Japanese concept called kaizen, meaning continuous improvement. It's about making small, everything, steady progress every single day. That's exactly how the confidence loop operates. Each day you do something slightly outside your comfort zone, everything. You reinforce the message that you are capable. You accumulate wins. Over weeks and months, those small wins compound into unshakable self-belief, everything. Maybe you've heard of the actor who couldn't look at himself in the mirror before auditions. He'd tell himself, "I'm not ready, everything. I'm not good enough." But he forced himself to go anyway. Each time he auditioned, even when he failed, he built tolerance for discomfort. Eventually, everything, the fear didn't disappear. It just stopped controlling him. Years later, when people called him naturally confident, he'd laugh. He knew the truth, everything. Confidence wasn't natural, it was earned. You see, belief is a result, not a requirement. The loop works like this: action, gear, experience, belief, more action, everything. The mistake is trying to start with belief. You tell yourself, once I believe in myself, I'll act. But that order never works. You must flip it. Act first, believe later, everything. Because every action you take provides evidence that your belief is justified. Without action, there's no evidence, and without evidence, belief withers, everything. It's the same pattern seen in athletes, entrepreneurs, even parents. They all begin uncertain. The athlete's first race, the business owner's first sale, everything. The parent's first night awake with a newborn. They all begin without knowing if they can handle it. But as they act, they adapt. As they adapt, they believe, everything. And that belief becomes fuel for more action. If you're listening to this, maybe you're standing at the edge of something you've been putting off. Maybe it's starting a new skill, everything. Asking for an opportunity or expressing how you really feel. You're waiting for that magical moment when the fear fades and confidence appears. But here's the truth, everything. That moment comes after the leap, not before it. You build confidence in motion, so start small. Speak when your voice shakes. Move when your legs tremble. Everything. Begin when your hands aren't steady. Because on the other side of that discomfort lies a stronger version of you. A version who no longer asks, "Can I do this?" but instead says, "Everything. I've done it before. I can do it again." And remember, the loop never ends. Even the most confident people still use it. Every new challenge restarts the cycle. Action, feedback, everything, belief, growth. The difference is they trust it now. They know that no matter what happens, forward motion will always lead them somewhere better. Everything. The greatest freedom you'll ever experience is realizing that confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you create one action at a time. So wherever you are, everything, whatever you've been hesitating to do, begin now. Because the loop doesn't start with belief. It starts with you taking the first brave step. And from that step, everything else unfolds. Everything. Have you ever met someone who, the moment they enter a room, seems to pull everyone toward them? It's not that they're louder or flashier, or that they tell the funniest jokes. Everything. It's something subtler, something almost invisible at first glance. It's a warmth, a presence, a way of making you feel like, in that moment, everything. You are the most important person in the world. That is the essence of true charisma, the art of connection. And it's not about impressing anyone. It's about making others feel seen, everything heard and valued. Think about the last time you felt truly heard. Perhaps it was a friend sharing a struggle, a colleague explaining an idea, everything. Or even a stranger telling a small story in passing. How did it feel? Likely you felt lighter, more understood, more alive in that interaction. Everything. Now imagine if every person you met could feel that same way when they met you. That is the power we're exploring here. Everything. The ability to connect so deeply that your presence alone leaves an impression, long after the conversation ends. Connection starts with listening. Everything. And I don't mean the kind of listening where you're waiting for your turn to speak, the kind of polite nodding that disguises a wandering mind. I mean truly listening, everything, where your mind quiets and your attention is entirely on the other person. When you do this, you are offering something rare in today's world, your full presence. Everything. One of the most powerful gifts you can give someone is the ability to speak without fear of interruption, without judgment, knowing that their words matter, everything. You don't have to solve their problems or offer advice unless they ask. Just listening fully is enough. There's a story I remember vividly about a woman named Maya, everything. She worked in a busy corporate environment surrounded by loud personalities and constant competition. Yet, she had a magnetic presence. People would gravitate toward her for advice, everything, for comfort, even for simple conversations. When asked how she did it, she smiled and said, "I just really listen." She remembered small details about people's lives, everything, followed up on past conversations, and treated every interaction as if it mattered, because it did. Maya didn't try to impress anyone, everything. She simply made everyone she spoke with feel significant. And that is exactly what connection is about, making the other person feel important, because their world matters as much as yours, everything. Listening alone, however, is not enough. Presence must be paired with authenticity. People are quick to sense when you are being performative, everything, when your warmth is a mask rather than a genuine expression. Charisma is not learned through tricks or rehearsed lines. It is learned through honesty, everything, through letting your true self shine while holding space for others to do the same. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be real, everything. A simple smile, a nod of understanding, a quiet acknowledgement of someone's feelings can carry more weight than hours of clever conversation, everything. Actionable connection also requires awareness of subtle cues, the little things that tell you how someone is feeling, even when they don't say it out loud, everything. Notice the tone of their voice, the rhythm of their speech, the way their eyes light up or cloud over, everything. These are the hidden signals that guide you to respond in ways that make people feel understood. If a friend is sharing an exciting idea, lean in, ask questions, mirror their enthusiasm, everything. If a colleague is sharing frustration, soften your tone, validate their emotions, and resist the urge to jump to solutions too quickly. Small adjustments, small attentions, everything. Build bridges of trust and intimacy that words alone cannot create. One of the most profound examples of connection I've ever witnessed was in a small community meeting. A local leader, everything, an older man, addressed a room full of people from vastly different backgrounds. Instead of dominating the conversation with his experience or credentials, everything, he made it a point to call on each person by name, to listen to their perspectives, and to acknowledge the value of their contributions. By the end of the meeting, everything, despite differences of opinion, the room was united. People left feeling heard, respected, and energized. That's the invisible power of presence. The ability to weave threads of respect, everything, attention, and sincerity into every interaction. Building this skill is not as complicated as it might seem. Start with simple habits. Begin each conversation by putting away distractions. Everything, look people in the eye. Let your gestures be natural but engaged. A slight lean forward, an open posture, relaxed shoulders. Ask questions that invite people to share. Everything. Not just yes or no questions, but ones that open doors to their stories. And most importantly, remember what they say. Refer back to it later, show that you remembered, that you cared. Everything. These small acts accumulate into a magnetic aura of authenticity. We must also acknowledge that connection isn't about giving endlessly at the expense of yourself. Everything. There's a balance between being present for others and preserving your energy. True charisma emerges when your warmth and attention come from a place of genuine care, not obligation. Everything. If you show up for people out of exhaustion or pretense, it will not resonate. You must cultivate your own inner well-being, your own confidence and compassion, so that when you engage, everything, it is energetic, sincere, and sustainable. There is another layer to this art, the way we express ourselves through words. Speaking sincerely is not about choosing the perfect phrase, everything. It's about choosing the right intention. When you speak from a place of empathy, curiosity, and kindness, your words carry weight far beyond their literal meaning. Imagine telling someone, "Everything, I see you," or "That must have been difficult for you," or simply, "Thank you for sharing this with me." Those words, those simple, everything, carry profound resonance when delivered with authentic presence. They bridge gaps, heal minor wounds, and leave a lasting impact. But connection is not one-sided, everything. True charisma recognizes the subtle dance of giving and receiving attention. It's a balance of talking and listening, of sharing and holding space. In any social setting, everything, you can observe who draws people in not by dominance, but by the way they make others feel valued. Everything. The most magnetic personalities are not the ones with the loudest voices or flashiest accomplishments. They are the ones who make every person feel like they matter. Everything. Think of the people you admire, the ones you remember long after a conversation ends. Chances are, they didn't just talk about themselves. They asked about you. They noticed details, everything. Remembered names, recalled past conversations. They radiated interest and kindness. And that is accessible to anyone. Charisma is not a gift reserved for a few. Everything. It is a skill nurtured through conscious effort, through daily practice in noticing, listening, and responding with authenticity, even in fleeting interactions. In the grocery store line, everything on the train, or in a brief exchange at work, this art applies. A genuine smile to a cashier, a kind remark to a colleague. Everything. A patient response to someone frustrated. These small moments accumulate. Each one is a seed planted in the social landscape of your life. Over time, those seeds blossom into a reputation. Everything. Not of force or dominance, but of warmth, attentiveness, and integrity. As you practice, you'll notice a shift. People begin to respond differently. Conversations deepen naturally. Everything. Friendships strengthen. Opportunities emerge because others feel drawn to your sincerity. Everything. And the beauty of this skill is that it enhances your own experience of life as much as it enhances others. Being present, being attentive, everything, being authentic. These actions connect you to the richness of human experience, making every encounter meaningful, every relationship more fulfilling, and every day more vibrant. Remember, everything. Connection is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about noticing, valuing, and responding to the humanity in everyone you meet. When you embrace this approach, everything, you will discover a natural magnetism that feels effortless yet profoundly powerful. Everything. You will become someone who doesn't just move through life unnoticed, but someone who leaves people feeling seen, heard, everything, and valued. Someone whose presence alone enriches the world around them. There's a fire that lives inside you. You may not always see it. You may not always feel it. But it is there, everything, quietly waiting, a constant spark beneath the surface of every fear, every doubt, and every hesitation. Everything. Most people spend their lives trying to protect their confidence as if it were fragile glass, polishing it when it shines and hiding it when it cracks. Everything. But real confidence isn't a surface shine. Real confidence is a flame that burns from within, a flame that continues even when the winds of life try to snuff it out. Everything. Think about the times in your own life when things didn't go your way. Perhaps you failed a test, lost an opportunity, or faced criticism that cut deeper than you expected. Everything. In those moments, confidence often feels like it disappears. You question yourself, you wonder if you're capable. You replay every misstep in your head as if that defines who you are. Everything. But here's the truth. Confidence that depends on perfection or constant success is fragile. It's a candle in the wind. The inner flame, the kind that lasts, everything, doesn't need external validation to exist. It survives because it is rooted in something deeper than wins or losses. It is anchored in purpose, gratitude, and self-respect. Everything, cultivated day by day, moment by moment. Purpose is the soil in which this flame grows. When you wake up each morning with a reason to move, to act, to improve, everything, even small actions carry weight. Purpose doesn't have to be a grand mission. It could be as simple as committing to be a better parent today, or showing up as the most reliable teammate. Everything, or choosing to take one small step toward a personal goal. When your actions align with purpose, everything. Each success and each failure becomes part of a larger story, one that you are writing intentionally, rather than being tossed about by circumstance. Everything. I've spoken to people who have lost jobs, relationships, or opportunities, yet they remained calm, poised, and determined. They didn't have everything in their lives perfectly aligned. Everything. They didn't avoid pain or setbacks, but they had purpose. They knew who they were, and they were unwilling to let life's turbulence extinguish their inner fire. Everything. Gratitude is the oxygen that keeps the flame alive. It's easy to become consumed by what we don't have, by what went wrong, by what seems unfair. Everything. But gratitude reminds us that even in the storm, there is something to hold on to. Perhaps it's a supportive friend, a skill you've developed. Everything. Or simply the fact that you have another day to act. Every morning, pause for a moment and acknowledge what you already possess. List even 3 small things you are thankful for. Everything. Watch how this simple practice shifts your energy. Gratitude doesn't remove challenges, but it gives you a steady platform from which to face them. Everything. When your flame is nourished with gratitude, it doesn't flicker at every gust. It burns steadily, patiently, resiliently. Daily self-respect is the fuel for this flame, everything. Confidence that lasts isn't born from arrogance or trying to prove yourself to others. It grows from treating yourself with integrity, from honoring your commitments, everything. From refusing to lower your standards just because it's convenient. Think about the small ways you either respect yourself or betray yourself every day, everything. Do you follow through on promises you make to yourself? Do you prioritize your mental and physical well-being? Do you speak kindly to yourself, even when mistakes happen? Everything. Self-respect is the practice of showing up for yourself consistently. Every time you choose self-respect over self-sabotage, the inner flame grows brighter. Let me share a story. Everything. There was a woman I met who had faced some of life's harshest setbacks. She lost a business she had poured her heart into, endured a difficult divorce, everything, and struggled with health challenges all at once. If confidence were a reflection of circumstances, she would have crumbled. Yet, there she was months later, everything, walking with a quiet strength that turned heads. People asked her how she could stay so composed. Her answer was simple: she refused to give away her power to things outside her control. Everything. She focused on what she could do each day to nurture herself, her purpose, and her gratitude. That's the inner flame, a power that cannot be taken, only tended. Everything. And tending it doesn't require monumental gestures. It starts with small, intentional choices. Speak to yourself with kindness. Celebrate progress, no matter how small. Everything. Take care of your body, your mind, your energy, and your time. Surround yourself with people who elevate you, and distance yourself from those who drain your light. Keep learning. Everything. Keep growing, and keep challenging the limits you've placed on yourself. Every step matters. Every choice matters. Everything. Every day you nurture your inner flame is another day you build unshakable confidence. Resilience, too, is part of this journey. Life will test you. It will challenge the flame, everything, trying to blow it out. But the difference between those who burn bright and those who flicker is not the absence of wind. It's the commitment to keep going, even when it feels difficult. Everything. You will stumble. You will fail. You will feel doubt. And that's okay. The flame isn't extinguished by moments of weakness. It's strengthened by the decision to rise again. Everything. To move forward, and to refuse to let fear dictate your actions. Real confidence thrives in the face of challenge. It doesn't hide from difficulty. It leans into it with courage, curiosity, everything, and faith in your own capabilities. Imagine yourself in 5 years, standing strong in a room filled with opportunities, challenges, and choices. Notice the way your posture has changed. Everything. The calm in your voice, the confidence in your presence. That person exists not because luck favored them, but because they nurtured their inner flame consistently day after day. Everything. They made decisions rooted in purpose, gratitude, and self-respect. They faced life's trials without surrendering their identity. That person is you, today, right now, if you choose it. Everything. So take a moment and breathe. Feel the flame within. It may be small at first, but even a small flame can ignite a forest of potential. Feed it with purpose, protect it with gratitude. Everything. Fuel it with self-respect and shield it with resilience. Treat it as your most valuable asset because it is. This flame doesn't just give you confidence. It gives you clarity, direction, everything, and a quiet, unshakable power that others notice even before you speak. When the world pushes back, when doubt creeps in, when circumstances threaten to overwhelm, remember this: everything. Your flame is yours to tend, and no one can take it from you. Every morning, wake with the intention to honor it. Every interaction, every choice, everything. Every challenge is another chance to let it shine brighter. And as it grows, you will notice a subtle shift. The way you move through life, the way people respond to you, everything. The way you respond to yourself. Confidence will no longer be a fragile surface. It will become a natural extension of who you are. A quiet, unshakable, radiant presence. Everything. This is the power of the inner flame. This is the kind of confidence that lasts, because it doesn't depend on luck, it doesn't depend on validation, and it doesn't depend on perfection. Everything. It depends only on you. And the most beautiful part, you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You don't have to wait for the perfect achievement, the perfect job, the perfect day. Everything. You can start right now. Light your flame. Feed it, tend it, protect it. Let it guide you, lift you, and carry you through whatever comes next. Because once you embrace it, everything. Once you allow it to burn steadily inside you, you will realize that confidence is not something you chase. Confidence is something you cultivate every single day, everything until it becomes inseparable from who you are.